8 or 9 months, I guess, on this project to adopt an economic development zone, which we've actually now done. We've completed that task. And now we're engaged in embarking on a 3-year program for the economic development zone, together with unit cost and what it's going to cost to fund that program. So, once again, we welcome your comments. And today we're going to start and we're going to review. We've already got a detailed list of action items that we put together. And we're going to review these action items and try and prioritize them and get them into a 3-year program. And there's actually some things, and we talked a little about it last meeting and the previous meeting, that have been completed. Scott, you brought up some of the things that were done in the alley as far as the signage and that type of thing. And so we need to go through this list probably either in a chronological basis because we have prioritized a list, or maybe we can just do it item by item. So I've given each one of you a table with the wish list items, and I've also given you Exhibit A, which was from one of our previous meetings that had all the items enumerated that Jessica had put together. So having said that, I'd like to just get started and look at these items, and maybe it would be easier just to follow the Exhibit A and go through some of these items one by one and see how we want to prioritize these various things. So what we'd like to get is a year 1 program, a year 2 program, a year 3 program. I don't know that and maybe a year 5 and just skip. But a 1, 2, and a 3-year program would really be a great start. And keep in mind that year 1, our funds are going to be very limited. We just started, Gary, so you haven't missed a thing. And we do have a handout, and I think you have it there.
Excuse me, Mr. Torres, can I get you to approve the minutes?
Oh, yeah, thank you, Tammy. I'm not looking at my agenda. Has everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes from the June meeting?
Yes.
Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Okay, and a second to the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That motion is carried. Thank you, Tammy. And now, having said that, we're on Exhibit A, or if you want to go down through, if it's easier to go through the items on the wish list, it's a single page. I kind of think that we prioritize them in Exhibit A. If we could look at these things, and we have A, B, and C items here. Is that correct, Jessica? Yeah, and then we've numbered them 1 through whatever. So the A items are obviously the higher priority items, but some of these items, as Scott had pointed out last meeting, have been completed or partially completed, and some of these items may not be reasonably within the budget of the Economic Development Zone Committee. We are funding these things with a tax increment program, but that's not necessarily a reason to exclude an item, because maybe we get a donation, maybe we have a fundraiser, maybe we cooperate with the city and or the county or some other entity or Main Street, and we can accomplish some of the things that perhaps our budget will not allow. So don't eliminate something necessarily just for budget reasons. So having said that, I'm on item 2 of Exhibit A, and the 1-year projects, and the first item being stops, and just like to have comments from the committee on it. And this has to do, again, these items have to do with the shuttle. The shuttle is a well-organized program right now. We had a great presentation from we had a great presentation from Karen, but also from the gal that does the horse paintings. I'm forgetting her name, but she also did a very good presentation.
Blakely, right?
Yeah, Lila, right? Lila Blakesley. Yeah, and Lila did a great presentation on how the art people actually organize to have the shuttle people around during their art strolls, and what a great idea! And this is probably going to become a permanent part. Has that already been adopted? It has, right, Tim? Didn't the council pass that resolution when Lila went before the council to Jay, am I right on that? Yeah, okay. Once again, it seems like a good bit of this is already in effect, has already got funding. Great article in Sunday's paper on our local transportation system. The goal line, it's really moving along. The ridership is increasing. And the downtown area, I think, has kind of so I'm kind of thinking I don't know if this should be at the top of the list myself. Comments?
I think it should be.
Okay.
The reason is
right.
I think the shuttle service that they're providing is excellent. But if you'll remember, what we had thought we might want to look at too would be a permanent type shuttle service that would maybe could be coordinated with the beach area and us, as far as having a trolley type vehicle. We had pictures of trolleys to look at that, so that people would know it's not the bus that's going to take them from here to the mall. It's a local route, which would be either including the beach area or not. I know that's not our realm. I was contacted by Georgia about the signage that you had come up with. She wanted a copy of that, which I did send to her, so that she could look at it to kind of get some ideas for dollars that they might want to spend, and had said maybe if they coordinated it with us that we could get a cheaper price. I said we're not ready to activate anything because we have no money. So these are plans that we plan to implement in the future with our 7 signage stops and telling where places are in the downtown area. So I think it needs to stay in that first-year project to keep discussing it rather than start talking about it 2 years from now, because it's going to take some time and some effort to figure out what a budget would be to operate one, which would affect what we do in year 3, 4, and 5. Right. So if we don't talk about it for another year, we're going to be behind the 8 ball.
So, Scott, when you're referring to this thing, you're talking about maybe a trolley that has routes that are particular to our downtown area or economic development zone, and
yes,
maybe a little bit different from these goal line stops.
Yes.
And Tim, you could probably clarify, just for my sake, I don't know about the rest of the committee, the new hub will go on 16th Avenue and 17th Street, is that correct? Or
No, it's 16th Street.
16th
Just
Street?
Yeah.
west of the railroad tracks.
Just west of the railroad tracks.
Okay. 16th Street and approximately 16th, is that? And that's not.
No, it's
that's
not
about.
even, it's not even.
It's about between 13th and 14th, or east of 13th. It's east of 13th Avenue.
Yeah,
Just west of. Okay.
It's right across from the railroad
Yes.
tracks.
Okay.
There's no.
Okay.
I mean, it's west of 10th.
So we're going to have the hub downtown, basically within our zone, and that's going to be a really great thing, Scott. So it'd be easy if we have the hub there, to also perhaps have a trolley stop at the hub, and all these various routes would be.
So I just don't want us to not discuss it for a year because it's on Plan 3, our second year or third year outing, that we don't start talking about it or keep talking about it.
I agree with you, and I also think that we had planned to talk to Karen to possibly expand the stops within the zone once the hub is moved. I don't want that to be forgotten about, so that when the hub does move, those additional stops that could have been proposed were, oops.
And you brought up at the very beginning about, I'm going to call them comfort stations at these stops that you brought up on the one on Route 60
Right.
Out by the courthouse.
Right.
That's something that we didn't really talk about as far as our committee providing funding to try and put some stops with shelter covers, that sort of thing,
Right, yeah,
in
the
our
bus shelters.
downtown shopping area.
Yeah.
So it's something that we might need to look at, the shuttle service that would be kind of part of it.
Yeah, St. Lucie County is actually expanding their bus shelters right now. They're adding bike, places where you can, lock up your bike. If you rode your bike to the shelter, put it there, and then took the bus to wherever you needed to. They also have, trash receptacles and things like that going in to keep it, cleaner. It's just something I think that we would have to talk to probably the transportation department with the county, because it's more of a county-funded thing, isn't it?
Yes.
Tim, yeah.
And space to put them. That's the biggest problem.
Right.
So it appears to me that we would keep A.1, would we keep A.2 as well, which has a little more to do with the art stroll and something that's already been addressed at a city council meeting and been approved? Do
We did also mention possibly expanding the service to do the downtown Friday, which is mentioned in A2.
Okay.
So I don't know.
So downtown
I mean,
Friday.
the very last sentence.
Can we
by
include that in
expanding the
A1 and
service
just
to
eliminate A2?
down-
Yes. I
Right.
would think.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Just
Yeah.
make that all
Yeah.
one A1.
Yeah, okay. And moving on to A3 banner program, and again, we had a conversation about the banner program. Now, keep in mind, there's a number of entities involved in the banner program. It's going along great. You've got the Art District, you have Main Street engaged in the banner program. The city is a partner in the banner program. I don't know that they need the help or the assistance of the Economic Development Zone Committee. It's a great program. I certainly think we should endorse it. But boy, is it! It's I don't want to interfere with something. If it's not broken.
I would think we should eliminate it from our plan as far as us continuing to discuss about something that's ongoing, that's being handled well, instead of adding us, the third entity, in, which in theory to some people can say it means money, because eventually we will have some to spend, but hopefully we'll have, we've got organizations, 2 of them, that are competing heavily for the banners right now. I don't know if we need to make it a priority of ours.
Gary?
We'll just show support for it. I don't know if we have to take the reins
Yeah.
on it, but if you continue to support it and endorse it.
Support banner program? Okay. I think those are important things too, Gary. So maybe rewrite A3 in support of the program that's underway by the Art District in Main Street.
So are we then eliminating introducing people into the historic downtown area by doing banners? I think that was one of our main reasons. People don't know where the zone is, and that was a designation to kind of put them in the areas where people would be entering the zone.
It's a great point, but there's another, and I believe it's item A4, where we can better address it, where we're really kind of pointing to the businesses, and we talked about the kiosk type of signs and that type of thing. And I really think the attention should be paid there. That's something that is not being done by Main Street. It's not being done by the Art District, and it's something that we can tackle independently and maybe even as in a partnership. But it's something that we could certainly spearhead as a committee. So
You just have to remember you kind of want to hit both foot traffic and, wheel traffic, so to say, because people that are here from out of town that may not have come before won't know that this even exists.
Well, but I mean, whether it's signage or maps or banners, it's going to address both foot traffic and vehicular traffic. I mean, that's the purpose of it.
I think what you mean is the locations. You mean like at the entrance to...
Right. I mean, if we put a sign, say, by the traffic light at 60 and 20th that says, entering the, downtown district or whatever, people would know, hey, this is where I'm at. Mm-hmm. There is nothing now. You hit, and they're pictures. They have a business at the bottom. You know that you're entering an art zone or, but they don't really know that it's a downtown until you get closer to 14th.
And Jessica, I agree 100% with everything you're saying. I'm just thinking it's probably item A4 for us.
Well, we could kind of mix them together. I don't know that we need a banner program, so to say, but I think, some form of designation.
I'm just trying to condense this list and prioritize it without having.
I just don't want to take a possible banner off the list if we could use it to draw attention to what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. But I love the idea of having a sign, particularly at that great location that you talked about, because it's a threshold location. When you hit 20th and 60, you're there at the boundary of the economic development zone, and really at the boundary of the downtown area and the Main Street boundary. So it represents a significant boundary and something to announce it. And this is not just a phenomenon. Main Street program being a program that exists in 70 plus locations in the state of Florida and being a national program, these brown signs that are associated with a lot of these Main Street programs, you'll find throughout the state. And even when you're traveling, you'll see them in Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. So yeah, that's a great idea to have that kind of signage announcing that you're coming into the district, whether it's the economic development zone district or the arts district, or however you want to do it, and certainly that would be something. And I also think that those threshold locations where people first enter the district is a good place to probably think about putting some of these signs that might even have some of the businesses that are within the district, and maybe even have the businesses pay a sponsorship fee to be part of that sign, just like sometimes you see a menu and the menu has sponsors on it, and that would certainly help fund those things. We've got a cost associated with this of $39.95 each with 7 locations and a total cost of $28,000. So it would be nice if the people that were benefiting directly from the signage would participate and maybe pay part of that cost in the same manner that the art district is helping to fund the shuttle on the art stroll evening. So I love that A4. I think it's something that we could and we should do, and we can really maybe designate these 7 possible locations. Obviously, we've given it a lot of thought. Scott's drawn some maps, and so we've got a considerable amount of information in our file, and we've got some costs associated with it, which is really what we're charged to do. So it's not only projecting the items that are at the top of our list, but it's projecting the cost of each of these tasks that we have to do. So I think A4 would encompass maybe also the banner thing, and maybe we can work then with the art district and Main Street on the banners that might be located at those threshold locations to coordinate those things, and maybe even use banners instead of signage in appropriate areas, Jessica, but just to leave it one point on our agenda, one point on our action list. So.
Now, Monty did mention that there was a local business that we could use to possibly save some money to fabricate those signs that looked like the ones that we saw on the website. So there is a possibility of savings by using a local company anyway.
Mm-hmm. And we certainly could bid it out to local companies, and maybe they want to give us a kind of a competitive price just to maybe put a little
sponsored by
logo or something on the bottom of the sign. So that's another great idea, and we could cut this cost because we're looking here at a pretty considerable cost for this committee at the early stages of $28,000. So, but great idea. It's something that would really benefit the downtown. It's something that would really orient newbies, and I think, is it Laura? Yeah, Laura was telling me she's been a full-timer here for 10 years, but maybe you can almost visualize what I'm talking about. You're coming into town for the first time, and you see that sign, and it kind of points you maybe to some of the things that we're offering in the downtown area. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Orient people who are not familiar with the area.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
The only thing I think is if we take it out of the word banner program, we're getting banner inundated and talking about it every time we turn around. And I don't know about y'all, but you see the first one and you tend not to see the next 5 because it's so repetitive.
Right.
And I remember distinctly when they put up signs that the city did that said the Antique District. Mm-hmm. Distinctly where they were. Mm-hmm. And that's probably what we need, is something like a sign that goes out on 34th and said airport. Right. It's pretty simple.
Right.
Those types of signs people tend to see more than they're going to see repetitive banners on every pole going down the street. The walking trail makes good sense to have banners on every one because you look up and look at them. But coming into town in a car, we're adding so many things for them to look at. We want to be sure they drive.
You want a DOT type sign.
Yeah, so it goes into that maps and signage area rather than the quote the word banner because we've got so many banners. How far out do we keep going?
So, good, so
you have the right idea with it being under this.
Yeah. So I think we covered that, moving,
Requirements, it's not that easy, just put signs.
yeah, moving to the painted walking trail, and I love that idea, and we've already talked about the arrows, but also coupled maybe with a kind of a logo, so there might be 2 or 3 different walking trails in the downtown area. For example, the Hibiscus Trail might be your basic State Road 60, and another trail might be your 14th Avenue trail, and maybe we can enumerate these with just a little logo, say a hibiscus flower that's just stenciled onto the sidewalk with an arrow pointing in the direction of the trail. And that would be a very inexpensive way to designate certain trails, and then we could coordinate that trail, and I think it was in here somewhere, with a map of the downtown area. And there's a number of people that are working on the map, including Main Street, Vero Beach, the Heritage Center, and we've had a number of maps for Vero Beach. We have an estimate, I think, of $4,000 or thereabouts, $4,500 to create another map. And certainly we would want on that map all of these walking trails. So that's just a great idea. It's an inexpensive idea. We have a cost here associated with just the flower portion of it, $5. The arrow would probably be another $3-4. And these would appear periodically just to guide people on their way on that particular trail, and maybe even new people in town could have that map in their hand and say, well, I'm going to go to this business that's on the Hibiscus Trail, and I'm just going to follow these arrows right to the business. And so that's a really nice idea. I've seen that in other places, and it seems to work out very, very well. So, any comments on that painted walking trail? Or
Needs to stay.
Yeah, okay. Good. Yeah, A6, this is something, we're going to have to work on this A6, and I'd love to get here at the committee, Tim, somebody from the MCO who actually, or I guess it'd be Public Works, Tim, am I right? Or would it be, would it go past, the timing of the lights, I know that it's a tough thing to do.
I think we've already reached out to Chris Mora, who has responsibility for that, and it was pretty well negative of any changes in that. It's whether our opinion from our Public Works Director, our engineer, and I, we have a problem with that, but they had the responsibility. So that's something I think we need to continue to see if to work on. So. To put a little pressure on that, because and I know it's not an easy thing to resolve because of the nature of the lights being timed on major routes like State Road 60, and once you alter and add, say, 3 seconds or 5 seconds to a light at 14th and State Road 60, for example, you're going to change the timing of every single light east and west of that location, and I know that that's a concern, and it's not easily resolved, but I don't think we should give up on it. I just think that the lights and the timing of the lights in these key locations is too short to allow pedestrians to safely cross, and particularly if you're elderly or you have children. And
there was a time when you could leave one part of 14th Avenue and catch all those lights. You'd make it right across Highway 60. Not anymore. So what you find out is someone who's stuck at the prior light, which is the westbound, they haul as fast as they can to make that light. So they're blazing through that intersection at 40 miles an hour. That's a fact. If anyone in town denies it, because if you're number 2 in line in front of a slow driver, you're not making it, you don't even try. That means they're hitting 40 miles an hour and blowing right past Firestone. And on a Friday, that's when all the foot traffic is. So there's a safety issue for the pedestrians crossing over to Evansari and the back and forth. And thank God there's a stop sign there. But so if you want people to slow down, you make that light catchable, so you can get 3 or 4 cars to it.
Yeah.
So it's a mix, not only for foot traffic, but the vehicles are.
And a great point, Gary, and I think we've talked about this over and over again, and it's really something that's come up outside of this committee, and it's a traffic calming. And the city council has actually passed the resolution for the traffic calming. Of course, we don't have the money to fund it, and the on-street parking in State Road 60. So it is a goal and an objective of the city and the vision plan to actually calm traffic in this downtown area. And so I don't think we should give up on this time adjustment for these State Road 60 pedestrian crossings. It's tough for me to get across, and I'm still in fairly good shape for an old guy. So,
well, I talked to Chris about it and asked him to come to my store and just stand there, and as soon as the light changes, you take 2 steps onto the road and it starts blinking on the other side, so you start to panic.
Right.
And he said his hands are totally tied. He can't do anything about it without being done through the state, because it's a state road. Mm-hmm. So that's the only way it's going to get changed, is through the state. And it may be something, I don't know if the MPO has anything to do with timings and that sort of thing, but maybe we need to go to an MPO meeting and just to bring it up that we're trying to take the chain of command and work through it, because that's part of our responsibility. Yeah. And not try and step over somebody. It's not Chris's fault.
Right.
He can stand there just like I can and say the same thing, but
we can also contact Jorgensen, who is the DOT's local representative, and see if they'll come out and take a look at it.
And also,
that'd be a good idea.
Great idea. So contact, what's his name?
It's Jorgensen Contract Services. It's that's the name of the business.
I see him all over town. Yeah.
I have a contact number.
Okay.
Well, if you call them, just send them to me, because I'm on the corner,
right.
And that way we know that they came, because I'll stand there with them.
I mean, the biggest thing is that it goes all the way from 21st Street, and the way those cars stack there to get down 14th Avenue to the south, you know, it really, and then you've got people who, they don't care that there's traffic coming. They'll whip around those corners onto State Road 60, and they don't look for pedestrians. I'm really surprised more people have not been hit, especially on a downtown Friday
night.
Well,
the traffic lights start blinking the same length of time to cross the 2 lanes if you're crossing 14th right. from east to west,
right.
as it is to go north to south to cross all of the lanes.
4 lanes.
There's the same length of time.
Right.
So the ones that are crossing 2 lanes
right.
have a much easier time than those
exactly.
crossing 4.
Right.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of the idea of drafting a letter to the state DOT in Fort Lauderdale and finding out who we could go to an MPO, we could have some discussions at the MPO, find out who to draft the letter to, and actually maybe make somebody who's higher up at the state level aware of the situation here, because it may be that requires a decision at that level.
I think we might have to go to the operations center here.
We may have to.
Yeah.
Why
okay.
don't we, if you don't mind,
okay.
I'll let me talk to Monty and see what we can.
Okay.
We don't want to ruffle too many feathers here.
All right.
You know, going over their heads too quickly tends to get bureaucrats really upset.
Right. If we go through the local channels and we go to the DOT's local representative and they say, no problem, we'll go talk to the DOT. We see that there's an issue. We'll be the middleman.
Mm-hmm.
Let them handle it.
Okay.
Because they're the local DOT rep anyway.
Are you going to call them?
I will send him.
Would you?
I can call him or send him an email, whatever. And that way we have it in writing back and forth, too.
And who's going to set up the meeting? Does a committee member want to volunteer to go to the MPO meeting? I mean, that would be a good.
The next meeting is.
Yeah. Does anybody on the committee want to volunteer to do that?
Well, I think probably more appropriate would be go to the technical advisory committee before you go off to the full MPO. Then you've got all the technical
regions.
People, and if they have some say, hey, I think there's something we need to look at, the MPO will listen to that. That's what.
So technical advisory meeting, yes. Tim? Okay.
Right. I can. We could talk to.
Do you know when that is, Tim?
Well, they just canceled the last one. I'd have to say it's probably not till next month, would be my guess. Yeah.
Well, if there's no other volunteer, then I will go.
Yeah. Let's find out when the meeting is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe see who's
Let me
available
find out.
at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll talk to Phil Mattson and see.
I like that idea,
Okay.
and I think we should stay engaged with the time adjustment. A7, landscaping.
I like the idea, but I think it's going to be a further off.
You know, I'm going to say this, and of course, I sit on the board of Main Street, and in partnership with the city of Vero Beach and with various nurseries and nursery type companies, we've really done a pretty remarkable job with the landscaping, with not only the hanging pots but the sidewalk pots, and you know, I think that we can kind of leave that up to Main Street, who's done a very good job. We've actually even put some of these things outside, east of the tracks on US 1. There's one that's going in by Ameriprise and the new bakery, and it may already be there. I probably should look and see. But they're doing a remarkably good job. I don't know that they need our help or interference or anything like that. It's maybe something that we can delete from our action list.
I would agree.
It's like banners. I mean, just show our support to it, but that way you don't get too many hands in the pot.
Okay.
Public safety, and we've covered this, and again, I just want to emphasize to the chief, I want to see that bike out there. Is there a bike out there yet, Shay? I haven't seen it if there is.
They've already bought 2 bikes.
Okay.
In my understanding, the officer's going to go through some training program, but they're committed to doing this.
Okay, great. All right, so and again, totally support that. Leave it in there as a support item. What do you guys think? You know, it's a great idea, and what a presence to have a police officer on a bicycle. So,
Should we renumber these to remove the things that we're just showing our support of? I mean,
yeah,
they're not really.
I think we should have a support item with all of the things that we support just bunched into that support item. Yeah, absolutely. And the idea is renumbering them and reprioritizing these things. Yeah. Alleyway improvement, Scott, you probably have some comments on that.
Well, I had brought up about changing that alleyway off of 14th to one way. I don't know. It has not been changed to one way. It is one way as you enter off of 14th, but it only is one way up to the parking lot on the south side. Then it becomes 2-lane halfway down, kind of behind the Bell South telephone building. I would still like to see it one way in one direction, but I do understand that those businesses at that end and in the middle do not have any parking to anybody to park in front of them, so they have to come to the alley. So I'm kind of cognizant of why Monty would be a little bit apprehensive to say it's now going to be one way. I don't see that it's a drawback because the people could come back the other direction to get to where they want to go, but constantly it's a stop and go situation. All the trucks that enter that road to deliver through the alley all go from east to west. None go the other direction because of the alley. And I don't know why we can't make the whole thing one way, but I just think it's something we need to keep up with. The alleyway over behind the Vero Furniture Mart store, the old bank building, that's probably got as much improvements as it's going to be able to get. So I think our main alleyways are really pretty clean right now.
So your suggestion is to make the alleyway behind your store a one-way alleyway?
A one-way, but that's just me personally. Monty has already painted the arrows on the ground, so you now see them, and all the arrows point till you get past the parking lot, and then the arrow doesn't point anymore. It's like, well, it's okay to come this way, which it is. So that's the only thing that I see.
Do you see any backlash, perhaps, from any of the businesses that are maybe using the alleyway, going the opposite direction? Scott? Or I like the idea
I
of a
don't see
one-way
any
alley.
backlash once it's done. I see the backlash from saying, wait a minute, you're trying to stop people from coming the way they're used to coming to my store because I don't have a parking lot in front of me. That's the only drawback I see.
They could still get there one way, though.
By all means. It's still the same. It's just a one-directional turn-in.
Yeah.
It may cause more traffic to come off of 14th to turn in there, which may be another bottleneck. So Monty would know better than us because of emotions tend to lie sometimes. And emotionally, I'd like to see it one way, but I'm real, too, that it's not that bad of a problem.
And again, this has a little note at the bottom, no costs incurred to the EDZ. It's a safety upgrade to be paid for by the city. So once again, it could be a support item with a recommendation to make the alley a one-way. There's nothing other than that we could probably add to it. They've already put some nice arrows and signage in there. And I just like how proactive the city's been in all of this. And they've jumped all over it. So they're one step ahead, and that's fabulous, Tim. Thank you for all the efforts there. I'm on the 3-year, which I'd like to move up to the 2-year, kind of because there's a gap here. I mean, if the committee feels that it should be a 1, 3, and 5. I'm kind of used to 1, 2, and 3-year programs because we need to have kind of a more, a better continuity in the succession for this action plan on a year-to-year basis and not have a gap and say, well, we're going to stretch these 1-year projects to be 2-year projects. I think everything within that first step is within our ability maybe to accomplish. And keep in mind, we're talking 2015 as the increment year, 2016 is the first year of funding. So we're already out there a year and a half. And so I'd like to kind of do a 1, 2, and a 3-year plan. I think it'll be more functional. How does the committee feel about that? Jessica?
I just don't know about the funding availability. I don't know what if we spend the money in the first year, will we have anything left for the second year?
You want to just call it a 2 to 3 year plan so
Right.
you don't start failing meeting deadlines, and because
Right.
it's all based on money. A lot of this is money based.
Yeah, we could do that. 2 to 3 years.
Sponsorships
Yeah.
that we raised through local businesses.
2 to 3 year
3.
projects, and we could go 4 to 5 year projects, something like that. That's a great idea, Gary. Great idea. Okay.
I don't have any objection to it staying at 3. I think you're trying to pile too much on. We're not going to know. It's always a moving target,
Right.
and we can move anything at any time to go back to the city council with our proposal to say this was our 3-year plan, and we're finished with some 1 year that we can move into our 3-year already, or we have to delay our 3-year to the 4th year
Right.
because of funding. It's just right now you're going to set ourselves up. I don't mean we're going to, but for failure.
There's a
Because if we don't
possibility.
make anything in the second year to go on, we're already into the second term and we haven't finished the first term.
Right.
Yeah, and Scott, a great point. But again, I kind of look at it like we're going to adjust the plan annually. That's the way I look at it. So what you don't accomplish in the first year is going to become part of your second year plan, because every year you're going to have a current 3-year plan or a 5-year plan or whatever it is that the committee decides on. And so yes, it's very possible that funding dictates what we do and what we don't do. A lot of these things, fortunately, don't have a big funding number associated with them, like the walking trails and that type of thing that we could easily accomplish within the first year. And funding may dictate some of the other things, like the signage, which we have that higher figure on it, and that may push part of that. Maybe we commence it in year 1, but maybe we don't complete it till year 3. And so we're aware of that, but that's the idea of updating this plan to keep it current on a year-by-year basis. Every year we need to do a new current 3-year or 5-year plan, whatever it is that we have. And it's easier, I know it's easier for me to look 3 years out than it is to look 5 years out. Yeah. So Anyway, but I like that compromise that you said, Gary, to do a 2 to 3 and a 4 to 5, and now we really have a 5-year plan with a bigger window to accomplish some of these tasks in that 5-year plan, and maybe we could get started on some of the things in year 2 and year 4, and not feel like we have a gap, and then update it. Maybe next year we update it and take a pencil to it when we know what perhaps the first increment's going to be as far as funding is concerned. So B1's the first item, and I think we've addressed B1, have we, Scott? Is that what you had proposed, the additional stops within the zone?
Well, I think Jessica proposed it originally.
Yeah, and I think it's part of the A1 and 2 stuff that we talked about already, but I mean, just throwing our additional support when they do move the hub and everything gets situated with their new routes that they're going to be proposing.
So maybe the timing's more appropriate in the 2 to 3 year plan for the additional stops, because then we have the new hub in place. When does the new hub go in place?
Oh, it's going to take at least a year.
Yeah. Okay. So leave it there. It's maybe more appropriate there. So okay. Special themed lighting on 14th Avenue South to 18th Street. A lot of costs associated with this. It's definitely needed. It's a little bit dark south of 14th Avenue. Scott, what's your comment on it, because you're there?
Well, themed lighting is, right now, the main lighting are the big tall poles with the big light hanging off of it. And I think the idea was to make it a ornate lighting rather than a superstructure lighting that's generic. I think that was the theme, was to try and get a theme for all the lighting that's in downtown, and that can be done on a pole-by-pole basis. But we need to come up with a group or somebody that says this is the design we want to go with, and then move forward before we let's just do something.
And I like it, the old cast iron type of lights, and I always look at what they did at Hummuston Plaza. What a beautiful job of lighting over there.
Yes.
And, it would really add some ambience to that area and everything. I think we leave that in there. There's a lot of costs associated with that, and maybe it becomes a 4 or 5 year item, and maybe we do it, I'm kind of thinking 2 post at a time.
Right. That may be how it works out.
And just creep southward down the street, so perhaps that's the way we tackle that one. Item B3.
I think we've addressed it in the other one myself.
Looks like the same thing.
Yes.
I think this is more going all the way down.
All the way down to yours?
Yeah. So, and that's just, maybe repaving, maybe adding some additional lighting back there, because there really isn't any. And I know there are a lot of people that walk from my office after work, even in the wintertime, down to, say, Nick's in your part, or up to I Jalisco or wherever it might be, and there it's dark. And it's not the cleanest.
Yeah, so west of 16th Avenue, or?
It'd be from west of 16th all the way to 20th.
Okay. But why don't we add that?
Probably should put that in there.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because it looks like the same thing.
West of 16th to 20th Avenue. Okay. Sidewalk widening. B4.
I think it should come out. I don't think we can control that. The sidewalks are as wide as they can be on 14th now. The only thing
you were proposing with the parking spot thing for your outdoor dining that you had spoken about last time.
That's it's still a possibility. There seems to be an agreement that it might be okay to do, but it hasn't been proposed yet through any organization to get an approval yet. But the concept is what we're moving forward with, and Stewart's already doing it. Anybody that wants to know could go down there and see what it looks like, because it's really functional. And right now, from what I understand, Ian is proposed 2 parking spaces. I thought it was 1, but he's proposed 2. I'm not sure about that, but we got to look at it and see. I think it's a very viable thing for our downtown area to be walkable.
And maybe that's a
street
more of
dining.
On-street dining as opposed to sidewalk widening.
Yeah, I didn't put sidewalk widening. I don't think we can widen them because
No.
it's already wall to wall.
Do we want to change that to be? We're already doing that on-street dining, and it's going to be a successful project.
It
you know,
is.
I mean, and certainly we probably want to add our endorsement to that because it's all about bringing people to the downtown area. And I agree with you. I don't know about widening the sidewalks or.
Well, maybe what we can do is instead of having it as 1 item, maybe make it 2. Outdoor dining is something that we support. And then sidewalk widening, we're not just talking about 14th Avenue.
That's
We have
right,
to think about like people walking from Kilted Mermaid down to Garage or Chive.
Yeah. And,
Those sidewalks are not.
and looking ahead,
Very.
and maybe in the 4 to 5 year project on 60, you have this little strip of grass.
Mm-hmm.
And if we ever did the on-street parking, you could actually have an extra 2 feet of sidewalk on both sides of State Road 60. Is it on both sides, Tim, or is it only
No.
on the
No, it's
north
just on
side?
the one.
Is it just on the
Yeah,
north side?
I think
Okay,
this
yeah.
is all tied into the
Yeah.
Route 60 project,
Uh-huh.
whenever that'll happen.
Yeah.
So,
It
okay,
said,
so-
you know, done with the State Road 60
Yeah.
project. So leave it like it is? Do we want to,
Do we
Do we wanna take it out? Do we
outdoor
wanna-
dining part of it? I think we should pull out the outdoor dining because that's a separate item to support. That's not something that's
I'm
going to be done
thinking
with
that
the State Road 60
we should move the
project.
sidewalk widening to the 4 to 5 year. Because I think that would coordinate better with the traffic calming. The traffic calming had a 7-year window, Tim, and what are we in now? The 3rd year of the 7-year window? I mean, it's
It doesn't mean anything.
That window keeps moving out.
yeah. Okay.
Should we then keep promoting outdoor dining as a support item?
Yes.
Okay, promote outdoor dining. That's a support item. Are we going to keep this in our 2 to 3 year, or?
Well, that'll be the support list. So I
That'd be
don't
the
think
support
that's
list.
really-
It's ongoing.
Right.
Okay. All right. Paver crosswalks, item C1. That's in the 4 to 5 year projects.
That's going to be.
You know, we have it already.
Right, yeah, that's what it says right there. That's why it's 5 years
But the stamped
plus.
asphalt pavers, is that kind of similar to what we have, right, Tim? Didn't we talk about that a little bit? Those kind of orangey, kind of stamped.
There's-
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
thermal plastic.
Yeah,
They do,
yeah.
right.
Because the DOT did them when they repaved.
So leave it there. It's in the 4 to 5 year project. I mean, it's kind of nice what they did, and I know it goes well east of the track, so it's.
Well, I would say leave it because that's going to tie into, if you'll think of Sebastian, the way they did the crossing of the Old Dixie Highway, that they have a walk with 2 little signs that say stop for pedestrians. They used to have little lights
Oh,
that,
right.
that lit up each side that I don't know if they work anymore, but it's an expense that they put into it originally. But I don't think it's bad to leave it in because crosswalks are going to be very important as we develop more and more for downtown, being a walking campus.
So C2 is the State Road 60 restructuring, and of course we talked about it a little bit in B4 with the sidewalk widening. And Tim has no idea when this is going to.
Well, all I know is that I think we're working on to submit a permit. You know, if City Council approves, submit a permit for the actual lane reductions, which would be on file. So when the time comes when they can move forward with it. So that's what Monty's been working.
But I thought when we embarked on this traffic calming thing, we had a 7-year window that was given us by the FDOT.
That's based on their survey of the road and how long, how much impacts on the road, and whether 7 years is typical, but it can go 10.
It's
I
a
think they
moving
were out on
target.
that road and they think it's going to be out a little longer.
Right.
Yeah.
So as we all laugh, you need to have an armored division.
Right. Yeah.
Just go on down the road.
I would say it should be a support. A support.
Yeah.
Okay. Support. So band shell, and I've not talked to, and I missed that little open house. Who attended? Jay, did you attend the open house for Press Journal last week? No.
This is the old one.
I know, yeah.
Got an invitation by email.
Yeah.
I guess they invited
It has been read.
some of the downtown
I know.
people. Did you go, Gary? Anybody go to that open house, Jessica?
I did not.
Tim, did you go or no? Yeah. So I've not had a conversation with them in a long time. They have shown an interest, as I've said in the past, in perhaps funding something like this. And certainly if we find someone that's willing to fund a project of that, we have no location for it. So, and it's not necessarily Pocahontas Park, or although that would seem like a good place to put something like this in there.
Well, we have the Cultural Arts Village proposal, and they're going to be having a charrette in September on it. And I think part of that would be looking, at that. I mean, I was hoping they'd like to coordinate what they're doing with you all, because it's
Right.
basically
I was talking to Peter Jones about
the same area.
cultural arts.
I think it should be moved to a support.
Village.
Yeah.
Yeah, do a support there. That can you talk about that for a minute, Tim? Cultural Arts Village and what specifically that entails? And
Well, basically, throughout Florida and the country, they have these cultural arts villages, which have been very successful in most cases, where you have the artists can work, live there. You have cafes, restaurants. It can be support all sorts of arts, from dance to multimedia to whatever. I'm not a graphics kind of person, so. But that's the intent, and to try to take your old buildings, retain that look, and not change the neighborhood so much that you don't recognize, but make it pedestrian friendly, where you have a lot of activity. I mean, it's a great idea, and so the Arts Council of the county has been working on this, and they've gotten Treasure Coast people will be handling. Treasure Coast Planning Commission, Regional Planning Commission are going to provide the technical assistance at doing the charrettes for this, and they'll be in September, and so it's a good idea. And the city has expressed we'll support them, since it looks like it'll probably end up in some regulations will have to be drafted, and you know where that goes.
no, I mean it's a great idea,
Yes.
because to live and work and do all that in the same place is always been a goal of our mixed use
In fact,
districts.
one of the things that's come up on the city council's agenda on tomorrow morning, we have a proposed ordinance which eliminates the restrictions on restaurants within 500 feet of the school that can't serve alcohol, which would be it would be a little devastating for the Cultural Arts Village as well as the downtown. Even the downtown, some of the new restaurants can't serve at lunchtime, which and so we've been. I think there's a lot of support for that. Hopefully,
Good, great. So I'm on C5. So we've changed C4 to support.
Yes.
Great idea, and maybe some of us can even participate in that charrette in September, and it should be really, really good. We've done a number of these charrettes, and I know Tim's well aware of them. But this will be kind of bring us up to date maybe on some new ideas for the downtown area. C5, art displays in green space.
I think Jessica brought that one up, but I don't know where green space is. That's our problem.
Well, One of the main places that Barry had suggested was in that
The triangle.
right, in that area
By St.
there.
Helen.
That's right.
Oh.
That the is
And
that
it's
the
really
canal
behind the
that's
sign,
right there?
actually, is where the green space is, because that's a swale ditch behind it.
Well,
catches
that's what he was proposing, is to
Right.
put something raised in the drainage area, because it wouldn't really hope it
Always a
not impede
great
anything.
idea, and particularly if somebody, I mean, it's almost akin
farm
to the
canal,
turtles
isn't it?
and a lot of the other art we see downtown and everything. Somebody might even contribute art, because art is for the public benefit. And we would just maybe coordinate, that's a city space, right, that triangle? Yeah,
I believe, yes.
city property, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do we want to leave this in, or do we want to just say support, or?
The one that has the sign in it is the one that's city space, the one
Yeah.
that has the drainage canal, which is the one that Barry had originally suggested.
That was, yeah.
That's owned either by the farms or DOT.
Yeah.
I'd say support.
Yeah.
I'd say support also, yeah. So we've gotten through this list, and we have this little wish list of items that we could kind of take a quick glance at and see if we've missed anything. I think we've really covered it.
We have, but everything that's on this list, but something that keeps coming up is the old power plant. Can you update us a little bit about where the city's stance is? I know it's in litigation, but is there anything that that looks like the future, or is it still just?
Well, I think
a
you've
building?
all read about what,
Yes.
until the litigation is taken care of, there isn't going to be a lot of action on it, but there are a lot of ideas of what to do. And I think the city's been kind of on record as the managers that they would like to sell the property if we can at some point, too. So there's.
Well, that impacts us
Yeah.
directly, because that would become a focal point that we need to concentrate a little bit more on that block area that comes around behind the
Parking lot there.
the parking lot and across from Fish Shack, and so that would impact a direction for us in the future. That's why I didn't know if there's anything other than
No, as I
litigation
said, with
at
this litigation ongoing, there's not a lot. I mean, other than, as I said, you all have read in the paper,
Right.
all these ideas that have come forward. Yeah.
And just for we're not limited to these items.
Oh, I know. I just
Add 'em,
wanted
we
it
can
on
remove
record
them, we
that,
can-
that
yeah.
it's still an interesting thing, because it will
No, it's a
impact the
great
downtown district
I just
dramatically.
heard
Whatever gets
a
done.
businessman proposing something for it, and I can try to remember what it was. But I'd like to move on to something that
Car museum.
Car museum, right. And I mean, any use of that space would be great, because we're talking about bringing people downtown, and the car museum would bring people here, and at least it would utilize the space. And I keep talking to Jim O'Connor about it, and he expects to have that thing resolved by, I think he told me October, but.
It's kind of like the state road department, so let's not hold our breath.
So I don't. Maybe they've got some, productive negotiation going on it. Hopefully
We will benefit whatever happens.
Right. So hopefully it'll be available to somebody to do something with. But I do have something that I wanted to cover this meeting, and that would be the inclusion of the proposed Cumberland Farm and the Taiwan Express, which is asked for annexation. When does that come before the council?
Oh, it's already been annexed.
It's already been annexed, okay. So I'd like to have that included within the economic development zone boundary. It was not part of the city when we adopted the boundary. It is now part of the city. Everything north of it is already in the boundary, and I think we should include that in the boundary as well. Discussion, please.
I'd like to do what Jay had originally proposed, which is to make it more of a block system instead of all these little zigzags everywhere.
Okay,
If we looked at our map and
here.
made it a little bit more defined that way instead of.
Well, part of the definition,
Residential, too.
Right.
we had to
That's why it's
eliminate
blocked out.
residential,
Right.
and that's why it's.
That's why it's blocked out so
Yeah.
bad.
Do you want to? illustrate what you?
Well, I don't know what Jay's original proposal was. Jay, do you want to maybe help us out a little bit with?
A lot of it had to do with the annexation piece.
Yes.
I got to orient myself.
Be
I think you're talking down here where the
right.
Basically you're just including.
Yeah, that would,
Side of the street.
right.
The annexation has that little notch, including the annexation just makes it a nicer block.
Be really nice.
Well,
Beggars can't be choosers, right?
they got an arcade.
Right. Yeah,
That's the
that's true. Yes.
I've been
point.
trying that.
Point.
So we're just talking about this.
What if we came up that street right there? What is that, 16th Place? Because there's businesses in there.
This.
No.
Sorry.
Oh, you okay?
Right here. If
No.
we came straight down here, because there's businesses in here.
Yes.
There are,
You know what?
In offices.
I was surprised we didn't take in that. We could take in the Kmart. I mean, I don't know why we left that out that way. That would.
This isn't
No, there's our city boundaries.
right.
Why
Isn't
didn't?
the arcade on the other side?
Yeah, it is. That's what I mean. And I took a look at it. Why didn't we take that in?
Take this in like this, Jay?
Yeah, and I'll look at those uses over there. They're mostly a business. If you look at yellow,
Everybody see that?
those are commercial.
I love that idea.
Yeah, let me take.
Come down
I'll take a
from
look at that. I don't know why we left that out. I don't understand.
And then we would come back up here like this.
Mhm.
And then
Right.
come
You'd be
straight
across,
like
yeah.
this, right?
Yeah.
I liked that amendment to the boundary.
Right.
Yeah.
How does the committee feel about that? Should we do a motion or?
Why should it not go right up to the railroad tracks? Because that's where the bus is going,
Like that.
right there. The bus is going in that gray spot right above it.
Right.
What's this right here? I'm trying to think.
Those are all warehouses.
Yeah.
So should it do this?
Hair beautician.
We
There's a-
we could do that.
Right.
Right?
Just the dog
There's
place is the end
right.
one.
Exactly.
Okay. We'll take a look at that.
Okay.
I'll take a look at those things.
Do we need a motion or do you want to leave it?
All right. I think unless you all, I got to consensus.
Jay.
I'll make a report back to you all.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we'll wait till the next meeting.
Jay
for the
is.
motion.
Just a quick comment. We're looking for more people to, I guess, to join the committee. Maybe it might not be a bad idea to talk to those business owners down there, if you're going to include them, to ask if they would participate in being on here. I don't think we've ever had anybody that's from the southern part of the
Right.
improvement district, have we?
I know the owner of the Kmart Plaza there. He'd probably
kinda
be
nice to have
pretty
somebody-
interested.
He would be
Board.
because
Yeah.
he's also doing other
Right.
Talking about
investments. Mike.
Yeah, Mike Richter.
Yeah.
He'd be great.
He
to
would
have
be.
on the committee.
Yeah.
And I would love to have a guy like Mike because he also owns Compass Medical now. and,
Right.
Yeah.
He's really expanding his
Downtown, yeah.
right.
And
yeah.
he's very interested in downtown. I've talked to him numerous occasions. So.
I don't think he'd also have a problem being included in it.
No.
I think he would welcome it.
I mean, Jessica, do you want to talk to Michael and see if he'd like to be a part of it?
Sure. I can reach out to him. That's no problem.
Okay. Is you working with him on some of these projects?
We've worked with him on the Kmart Plaza.
Yeah, okay.
hmm
So, Jay, did you want to comment? I'm sorry.
No, I'll stay up here.
I'd like to comment on it.
Okay.
I think the downtown district has become a mammoth, encompassing everything that's not going to mean a whole lot. US 1, we're not going to have much control on US 1 at all, but it's in the district. So it looks like we as a group are including it in the district so that we'll benefit from the Albertsons being sold and redeveloped. Now it goes on the tax rolls higher, so we're going to benefit from that. I just hope we don't spread ourselves out to say, okay, now, and then all the money comes from outside of where we're looking to do things, which is the downtown area. I think it's a stretch to say that's downtown. That's just me. I've lived here my entire life, and that's never been downtown. And I said it when we drew this map, that it's kind of was done by the city council for a reason, so that we could get some funds into this area. But I brought up when we first started, we won't control US 1 with much. Are we going to put planters? Are we going to change the lights? It's so far-fetched and far-reaching that the goal is.
The only thing I'd like to correct a little, the council really, came from the group for that. I mean, so.
What group? This group?
No, before you.
Came from Main Street initially,
Yeah.
Scott, would be the history of it. And we've always struggled with the boundary, but and you're right, Scott, and I can appreciate what you're saying, but this little summation here at the bottom really gives you a pretty good idea.
But
You've
I
got
think with the hub
$2,670,000 in property taxes being paid by, I think, 532 properties. Oh, this actually says 729 properties, and we're talking about only the commercial properties within this boundary that we're.
I got you.
So the issue has always been, and we started with a boundary that almost like replicated the Main Street boundary. And what we discovered was if we had a 2% increase in assessed valuations, we were only going to raise like 2,500 or something. You know, I mean, you're not going to be able to do. So it grew out of necessity, and I hear what you're saying, that it's, yeah, obviously that's really not part of the downtown area. It's, you know, it's east of the tracks, it's US 1 frontage, ingress and egress off 1. Of course, it does have the rear ingress and egress as well.
I do believe that a lot more people will be traveling into that area because they can walk to it from the new hub. And if we start adding more stops in our district, people will be utilizing the availability to get here, there, and everywhere and be able to hit those US 1 spots with the hub moving from the downtown area. So we'll have that connection a little bit more than we would have had where the hub is now, which is over by the airport. I mean, nobody's going to US 1 from where we are. They can even get off and walk to Kmart or Checkers or, you know, the post office or wherever over there now, you know, when the hub moves. So there's going to be more of a connection that way, which would be really nice for the people to be able to do that. I know if I had my kids and I didn't have a car, it would be so much easier for me to walk a couple blocks to get done what I needed to do than to walk from, where's the closest stop now? Over by the fire station.
But the downtown district was not built for that bus hub to be put there. And that's what we're basing everything from today forward on, is the bus hub. I don't think that's the key for downtown redevelopment. I don't think it is. The bus hub's not the key for redevelopment in the city of Vero Beach, because everybody drives a car. Everybody, except those who don't have a car. They're way in the minority. And I'm not against that. Don't get me wrong, but I just think, and I do understand why. I studied this thing very thoroughly from the very first map I had from 1980 when we said what the downtown district was. It's not this. It was something else, which is much smaller. But in order to get any funding,
Right.
it has to be outreaching. My problem is all of this new funding, we haven't talked about doing anything for those people. We haven't talked about doing anything. We're still concentrated in an area to get it started. And I would just hate to be annexed down here and me own that building and say, now, what are you people talking about for Kmart? Well, you got the bus hub. That's all we can say, because we have no plans. It's not in a walking trail. It's not in a. You see where I'm going with it?
Well,
that's the problem. I want money, believe me.
It's a good point.
I just don't want to kill people.
But the signage can benefit them, the traffic.
Mr.
calming in
Torres,
some
can I
ways
get you to
can
use your microphone, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's me. You know, Scott, it's a great point, and you know, I'm an expansionist by nature because it's raising revenues, but I definitely see where that could be helpful, and I also like to see boundaries follow some, either some physical type patterns or some logical type patterns, and sometimes we just have a little too much meandering. And when I look at this, and I'm going to put this up here, there's very few residential within this area that we're talking about. It's really primarily a commercial area. It's also served, I often use that access to get into it. So, and then we're engaging a property owner who also is engaged in the downtown now with his acquisition of the Compass Medical Building just south of your property. And it would be great to engage a person like Michael Rector in this whole downtown redevelopment. And you're right. I mean, I could tell you because our client bought the Taiwan Express and the mobile station to convert it to a Cumberland farm. And fortunately, those kind of businesses have the type of capital and, to develop those properties and with full compliance with landscaping and all of those type of regulations that are required, and do a great job and provide a great facility, and don't need as much of a push maybe as some of our mom and pop and closely held businesses like yours, Scott, that would really benefit from this. But I don't see that it hurts us to include those businesses either. I see a benefit without any detraction is what I see. So
I'm for it. It's just money is the way I'm looking at it. It's just money.
Jay?
Well, just keep in mind that the more properties that you include, those properties do have the right of representation. So, I mean, if you're okay with the focus of economic development floating around in different areas of this district, then you can annex more, I don't want to use annex, but add to the business improvement district. But, as time progresses, people may cycle out in, the southeast area. Maybe they might have more representation, and maybe the focus might be over there. I mean, if you're okay with that happening, then maybe expansion is the way to go.
Well, I think the fact is, if you get an increase of people coming into anything within those boundaries, others will benefit. Because when you plan things at $3 a gallon, you don't just go joyride. You think about how can I hit three things at the same time. So you might buy your gas there if you're going there for another reason, and so you have 2 or 3 reasons to stop. If you're west of town, you do it out there. You think, what are my 3 stops out there? More people you're pulling in, for restaurants and museums, they're going to find and discover the other places there that are, I didn't know there was 30, you found 38 restaurants. I still haven't eaten, I got to do that, But, when you're downtown and you meet clients downtown, you find a new restaurant to eat at. So those are the things, the goal being pull more people in, it will expand, and I'm sure those businesses that are currently in the fringes will benefit by just having an overall.
So what we have now is Tim taking the ball. Tim, am I correct? And
I guess so.
I can make a motion right now. We can make a motion right now and take you off the hook and propose to expand the boundary.
How about if I come back, we'll have a map to show all this, and then get
That's what I was thinking, and vote on it at our next meeting with a map in front of us.
Is that all right with y'all?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I will hold off contacting Dr. Rector then.
Yeah, okay.
Until we know that it's going to be changed.
I'm for it expanding now, don't get me wrong. I just want to be sure that our group focuses on all the areas, not just one. That's where I'm afraid.
Jessica, just going back to Mr. Michael Rector, you could still contact him about becoming we still need another member of the committee.
That's true.
And he's already downtown, without this facility, right? So he's already downtown, and he would make a good addition. And if you would like, I'll talk to Matt, Willis, I'm talking about. But we need to have 5 members on this committee. We need to have a full committee to. The more input we get, the better it is. And you guys really raise, or Jay, you raise the point that these people that we're talking about in the expanded boundary, they have a voice too. And so it's better to get as big a cross-section from the economic boundary represented here on the committee. That would be the goal. And there's really, Scott, there's something here for everybody, because when we improve our downtown, the whole county benefits from it.
I agree. My problem is different than your problem because I own a building that's right in the middle of it, right in the hub. Yeah. And I don't want anybody coming up saying you're doing all these things for your business because I've heard it from lots of people, and I've lived here my whole life. So my concern is this community, and I don't want to sound like we're being greedy because Scott said, let's vote that in because we get the money for it, but we're not doing anything. Why? Because he's got a business in the middle of it. That's why. I want it to be known that is the reason that I.
We're not going to start calling you Donald Trump, don't worry.
Believe me. You don't have to worry, it's not. But I still work every day like everybody else.
Okay. Is there any new business? Other new business? Is there any other old business that you want to discuss? And I think we accomplished a great deal. We already have set the third Monday of each month for the next meeting, which would put the next meeting, I believe, August 17th. Can someone verify that for me? Okay. August 17th will be our next meeting. And thanks so much, everybody, for all the input. And does the public want to speak? I mean,
we're going to try to get somebody by that meeting, or what are we doing as first to fifth seat? So. I mean,
try and get somebody
on a timeline.
Yeah, I would love to have a fifth member, and remember they have to be approved by council. So it may or may not be possible to have them by that meeting. I guess it might be possible, but we can't keep putting it off. We need to recruit another member for the committee. So
we just have one meeting in August. It's a council meeting on August 17th, so if we can get someone's application in time, then I can put it on the agenda.
Okay. The council meeting is what day?
August 18th.
18th. Yeah. Okay, the day after. So it's possible. Yeah. Possible to have one in the day after our meeting.
Yeah. That would be the soonest we could get it before the council.
Okay, great.
Should we send them your way if we have somebody that
and I'll make sure they get the proper application filled out.
And one other thing, Jessica, you've been so kind to do these summaries. Would you mind doing an update on that and getting it to Tammy, and then Tammy can distribute it to the committee? Okay, thanks.
Terry, may I just have the last name, everybody's last name? I know you, but I don't know these other people.
We don't have our little name plates. I'm Jessica Hawkins.
I'm Scott Chisholm.
That's what I thought.
I'm Tim McGarry.
Yep.
Gary Rooney.
Rooney. Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, and Rosemarie, it should be on. Are the names of the committee members on the COVB website, Jay, or should be, right?
They should be.
I'm not so sure if this committee is on there or not, but I can check.
Okay, yeah. Okay, good. Well, thank you for coming, and hope you can attend some more meetings.
Are we heading in a direction that you all think is right, wrong?
I happen to be a county resident.
That's fine.
But I'm going to give.
Can I get you to come to the microphone, please?
I'm going to give the report to other people. That's it.
Laura Moss, Vero Beach. I was speaking with your chairman before the meeting started, and I've been a year-round resident for 10 years, and I have to say the historic downtown development has come a very long way in the last few years. My mother did volunteer work for 20 years at the thrift shop on 14th Avenue, so I would go visit her, and I know what it looked like in the past, and you've really made tremendous progress, and I would just encourage you to keep going with it. I think you've done a great job, these last few years, and keep going. Looks good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Laura, believe me, we appreciate the pat on the back, because sometimes I think people don't notice what's going on downtown. But yeah.
There is one thing I'd like to say. Rosemary Wilson. I'm at 1490 Fifth Avenue in Vero Beach. My major concern is All Aboard Florida and how it's going to affect downtown, because they're planning a lot of different things for Miami North with the stack and pack housing and different zoning changes and that kind of thing. And it's just major concern. So if this is going to occur, it's something that, would you have it in mind?
You know, Rosemarie, a great question. We have not discussed all aboard Florida at all. And I don't know that it's necessarily by design. There is no stop scheduled for the Treasure Coast at all, let alone Vero Beach. In my opinion, it's going to happen. I am a proponent of mass transit personally. I don't know, and I know you've been an opponent of it, Rosa, and verbally and stuff like that. But I really think that's something that I'd rather keep the committee out of, because it's a very controversial topic, you know, and
I think that's exactly why we should be talking about it, because it is controversial and it's going to destroy our city if it happens. Mm-hmm. Because it's not going to be just passenger rail, it's going to be freight, which is going to be a nightmare. Mm-hmm. It's going to tear.
Well, we already have freight, and
right.
And they don't need to do anything. And I'm talking Florida East Coast doesn't need to do anything to increase the amount of freight that they're moving on that line. You know, I mean, it's already owned in fee simple from the north part of Florida all the way down to Miami, and so the freight is part of the system. I think what we're talking about are the 24 trains a day.
32.
32, okay, including the freight. I was talking about the 24 additional trains per day, the passenger trains. But I'd really rather, this is a public meeting, and we appreciate your input, and you're welcome to come every meeting, and you're welcome to speak on All Aboard Florida. It's not something, as you could see, it's not on our action list. Right. It's not something that we're currently engaged in, and I think that if we immerse ourselves in that controversy, we're going to get a lot less done here. Our charge, and we do have a mission statement, and I'd be glad to read it to you, but our charge is the downtown area, to make it more vibrant, to increase economic development downtown, and that's what I'd rather stick to. I'd rather keep our efforts focused on that, because this is something that could really sidetrack us.
I just hope it's not all for naught, you know, that it should destroy what you've established, mm-hmm. which is very possible.
No, I appreciate your comments too. Thank you. Anything else? And all right. Sorry about the length of the meeting, and I know I promised 1 hour meetings, and they always go a little over. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you next month.